Ah, welcome. It is 1 o'clock on the West Coast. It's Hug Nation time all over the world. If you're listening to this live, awesome! Thank you for having your live vibration a part of this connection and this amplification. If you're watching the archive, well, again, thank you for adding your energy to this vibration, to receiving this broadcast, letting it vibrate through you, amplify through you, and then into the world. This is an intentional gathering. Time and space are secondary. We come together to recalibrate, to amplify the love, to go towards compassion, love, and connection. So before we get too deep into that, let's just take a moment to get grounded. Take a deep breath and surrender into the now. In this now, all our needs are met. We are simply receivers of direction, of stimulus, of sensation. We have front row seats to the unfolding of the universe. Not only can we see it, we can perceive it. So let go of the story. Let go of your identities and your roles and your responsibilities. You can revisit those when the time is right, but just for the moments we spend together, let's just be clear. Clear straws for the cosmic stream to flow through, and by doing so, realign us in the direction of that flow. Thank you, universe, for all of the gifts. Help us to appreciate our blessings. Help us to focus on all that is good and amplify it. Help us to bring good to others. Help us to be loving people in the world. Amen. Welcome! Oh, it is good to see you. And by see you, I mean in the avatar sense. Today, I wanted to talk about helping. The topic of the day is helper. Helping? Help! And this was brought to the surface by the recent Kony 2012 campaign. Did everybody see that? Are you one of the 900 billion that watched that on YouTube? I don't want to get into the politics of that specifically because, well, it's pretty darn complicated. Maybe we'll get into just the basics of it just to illustrate the fact that politics and causes are complicated or can be complicated. Now, the brief overview, in case this is watched in the future when people have kind of gotten fuzzy about what's going on. So there's an organization called Invisible Children based in San Diego, neighbors of mine. And years ago, again, I watched the video, I'm translating what I remember. Individuals went to Uganda, were exposed to atrocities, and made some really personal connections with people who are being affected by such atrocities, and pledged that they would do what they could to make a difference in the world. And so collected video of what was going on, tried to share it with lawmakers, discovered that, without some sort of political or economic cause, the government is not going to get involved. So they created Invisible Children because these kids are invisible without some sort of political purpose to save them, which goes back to something we talk about a lot, like Freakonomics and understanding the motivation of actions. So here's someone who realizes, okay, we need to understand the motivation of our politicians' actions. Anyway, so they started to try to really raise awareness. And one of the things they did was target kids, trying to get kids to understand that, there are people who, because of an obstetrical accident, suffer and have hardships beyond what you could comprehend. Obstetrical accident is a phrase that my grandpa used all the time when he would count his blessings based on the obstetrical accident of being born into the United States. And so Invisible Children raise an awareness. They do a lot of fundraising. One of the criticisms, well, we'll get into criticisms in a second. And so they've actually gotten enough awareness that there has been policy change. The new movement was this video they released where part of the video was actually trying to present it as a social media experiment, which is, I think, a great idea. It's saying, hey, let's see what we can do here, which is a great question. What can we do with social media? We know that we can, make a boob slip go around the world in a day. We know that, crazy stories and cat videos can circle around the world in a day. But what can we do coming from a heart space? What can we do coming from an intention of helping? And so very quickly, like in a week, it had like 75 million views, which I accounted for one. It's amazing. It's something that is unprecedented. There was a time when if you wanted to get 75 million eye sets of attention, you had to be part of the mainstream media. You had to be part of the system that played the status quo games. So just the fact that a individual group, a special interest of any sort, can get that kind of attention for a cause that is not boobs or cats is awesome. Okay, so then it starts getting complicated because apparently it's not so simple. What, you say? The world is not black and white? Yeah. The video does this really thing where he's explaining things to his kid and he says, who's the bad guy? That's the bad guy. And yeah, that's a bad guy, but in this situation and in many others, there's not bad guys and good guys. There's bad guys, horrific guys, greedy guys who are pretty bad, truly horrific guys, and, handfuls and scatterings of wonderful people. So it's really hard to figure out where you should put your energy and attention. And this situation gets complicated because the resources being raised, many of them don't go to Africa. Many of them go towards raising awareness. Some of it goes towards salaries. I'll just address right now that I don't think that the salaries that these guys are taking are out of line at all. I think that bringing the kind of talents that they bring to a cause and getting paid under $100K to run an organization like that is, I think they are not coming from a place of greed at all. Anyway, and I should preface to say, look, I believe that the Invisible Children organization is coming from a wonderful place, and they're following their hearts. I don't think there's any manipulation or hidden agendas. I think that they are trying to do with what they say they're trying to do. Now, what they say they're trying to do, unfortunately, is complicated because of all everyone's agendas, as well as the really insidious thing that's starting to slip out is about manufactured consent and how this can be a part of that. Manufactured consent is an idea that Noam Chomsky talks about, that in a democracy, the power still does and acts just as they would if they were a monarchy, except that they have to trick and convince the populace to want what they want them to want. For example, you let people bomb your ship so that then everybody gets up in arms and say, well, if you want us to, we'll attack. Or you let the Gulf of Tonkin incident happen to, well, if you say so, we'll go into Vietnam. Or, oh my gosh, we have these terrorists. We have weapons of mass destruction. Oh my gosh. Well, if you say so, we have no choice. And so, if you follow these patterns, the idea of the world climate right now is so anti-war that the idea of pulling people into a new war is daunting for the power structure that is so economically based in war. However, what if you go in the direction of appealing to people's heart songs and their compassion, and suddenly you create this cartoonish evil man who is torturing children in Africa? And then all these things start surfacing about oil being found in Africa and about the Chinese starting to put a lot of efforts into Africa. And so suddenly the motivations of a government to take action in Africa suddenly becomes a lot less based on trying to save the children and a lot more based on unknowns or the same old, same old. Okay, that's the overview. And if you have a chance, I urge you to go watch the, what's it called, the rap history. There's a new one that is just fantastic. The rap news is what it's called, right? And it really highlights all of the issues at stake here in a funny way, which is kind of the only way you can really process this without going... Okay, but what I really wanted to address is what position and what the conversations and what this scenario means to people who are trying to do good in the world. We've talked recently about slacktivism and the way that people sometimes will share a picture on Facebook or, you know, just share a link to something that is wrong in the world and kind of feel like you're helping. And I guess it's, in some ways, it is awareness raising. The problem that I really had was the people that were sharing things that were horrific, like, you know, dogs that were tortured or, you know, children dying or as a way to kind of like say, you have to do something! And I'm going to ease my guilt of doing something by clicking share. Okay, now I've done something. I've made sure that other people know that the world is terrible. It's like, really? You weren't aware that the world is terrible? It's also amazing! But does it do any good to think it's terrible if you're not going to act on that? So along that realm of Facebook sharing, I try to encourage people, look, if there is something that is important to you, tell me what you did about it and then inspire me to act. If this cause is really important to you, say, hey, I just donated a few bucks here, and then give me the link. Knowing that you took action, even the smallest amount, a few bucks, you know, you signed a petition, whatever it is, let me know that you put your energy into this. That is an investment of some kind that I can then start trusting, oh, maybe I should think about this more, or read more, or give money. Just to stay aware of all the bad things in the world, all that does is make you suffer and brings you down and robs you of your joy and light that you need to give to the world. So, Jacob Glass says that there's this, his comment on Facebook activism and people sharing everything. He goes, a lot of people out there think that they're Paul Revere, but they're really Chicken Little. That isn't to say that you should stop caring or stop, you know, paying attention. It's to say that it is easy to diffuse that feeling of I should do something with something that isn't really doing anything. This situation with the Kony is particularly dangerous because there's so much voices and so much talking about how this is a bad thing. The real danger, I think, with dismissing good acts or trying to find the fault in good acts or trying to find what's wrong with it is it's a very dangerous place and a scary place because we don't need encouragement to do nothing. It's very easy to think that, oh, what I do doesn't matter. I think it's important to find ways that feel good to you to make a difference. And let me take that off. Remove that. I don't think it is important to find ways to make a difference. I think it's important to find ways that you feel drawn to attempt to make actions, to make tiny little gestures in the direction of making a difference. Whether or not you actually make a difference, whether or not the world has changed, I don't think that is something that we should get too caught up in. What we need to do is to check in, figure out where our motivations are coming from. In a situation like this video, is my heart being tricked by clever music and, you know, and imagery that is, I mean, we all know that advertising, marketing documentary films are extremely sophisticated in their ways that they can twist the way we see the world and what we think is right and wrong and true. So checking in, trying to figure out, is this something, does this resonate with me? And then how can I do something to make the world a little bit better? You don't have to fix the world. You can do something tiny. It can be smiling more at neighbors. It can be, last night actually, I was walking, it was dark out, and there was a neighbor right there that I've never met before, and I was walking by, and it was late at night, and I was like, and I kind of started to walk by him, I turned around, I'm like, hey, I'm neighbor John. Now, am I saying that that is the same as dedicating my life to saving tortured children? Dear God, no. What I'm saying is that starting to just see every step as a possibility of being more in the direction of connection, loving, compassion, helping, spreading light, and in doing so, relieving darkness. My only real experience with the Invisible Children Charity was at December Lights last year, which is like a Christmassy themed thing they do at Balboa Park. And on the bridge in Balboa Park, there was like 50 kids, all Invisible Children's shirts, and they had all sorts of little games and stuff to raise money. They were like, a guy was dressed as Santa Claus and take a picture with Santa Claus and buy the picture, or they were singing carols for tips, and I gave them money. Not because I thought there was going to be some effect or help of killed children in Uganda. I gave them money because here were kids who were trying to make a difference, who were trying to do what their heart said was right, and they were doing so while they were smiling. They weren't in a, oh my God, the world sucks, you've got to help. They were in a, hey, how can we make the world a little bit better? How can we share this song in our heart, and in doing so, try to bring song to the world? And that shift is what changed everything for me with the First Saturdays Help the Homeless project that I helped start. If you try to save the world, if you try to fix the world, you are in for a daunting task. I don't know the exact quote, but Jesus even said something like, there will always be tyrants and evil men. You have to find the sweet spot balance between enjoying your life and helping others. Slipping into an awareness that you are connected to all people, and then finding a way to make little gestures to help other people, which in doing so actually elevates your happiness and joy. That's the big game changer. That's what Burning Man taught me. Gifting. When you can bring someone else a little bit of joy, because we are connected, because we are essentially a family, I can bring that person joy, and it lifts me. And if I can do that while being joyous at the same time, the whole process is energizing. When I was younger and I tried to do charity work, I came from a place of much more like, oh my gosh, all this darkness, I have to do something. And I found myself totally depleted. I tell the story all the time when I worked with emotionally disturbed kids as a counselor, and basically threw my hands up and gave up on psychology because I'm like, I cannot do this. It's just too much. And it took me 15 years to figure out that, oh my gosh, you can fight darkness by spreading light. And so for Saturdays, we meet in advance. We meet together and we organize things as a group of helpers, as a group of volunteers, and we make very clear, like, look, we are not here because we have any answers or we have any right things. Or we're here because there happens to be a population of people that is limited resources, and we happen to be a bunch of people that have a lot of resources. So with a very simple act of sharing that, of having like material osmosis happen, we can make their day a little bit better. That's simple. I believe that is how the world has changed. Because a few things happen. One, you start to learn that act of making someone else's day better makes your day better. And that makes you learn that this model that we have been given our whole lives of, you want to be happier? Earn more. You want to be more successful? Climb higher. You want to be happier? Get more. The game of life is mostly measured in dollars and cents that we've been taught. And in that game, your playing piece is you. And so the only way you can get yourself better is by getting more stuff, hotter women, better cars, this accumulation game. And we're such a screwed frickin' society that it's not even like get a TV, it's get a bigger TV, get a flatter TV, we have so much that we have this skewed sense of get, because we've won. We fucking won. But if you can see that the entire world, because we are connected, because your joy brings me joy, when you can see the entire world is a possibility to make your life better, then that target zone of 1 within 7 billion becomes billions, and there's billions of opportunities for you to make yourself happier, and in doing so making the world lighter. So our job becomes taking care of ourselves, finding ways to find our own joy so that we can keep our well full, so that we can be vessels of joy and share our joy and elevate others and bring light to the world. And if that feels so daunting, then just let go of that and just try to help somebody else. If you feel depressed, oh my gosh, the quickest way to snap out of that, help someone, help someone, help someone. And if that, you know how to do that, start thinking about it. Every person you see, is there a way I can help that person? I can hold the door as they leave the store. Boom, done. Don't think about magnitude. Don't think about changing lives. Just think about the direction towards helping, the direction towards gifting, the direction towards making someone's moment a little bit better. And pretty soon you'll start to see bigger and bigger opportunities. And pretty soon you'll start to see that without meaning to, because you're selfishly trying to make your life more fun, better, joyous, love-filled, you start to have this effect on people. And then people start saying, thank you, and you're going, oh my gosh, I thought all I was doing was trying to just like help me, which is all. So, Kony 2012, whew, I have no fucking idea. I do know that it's something that we should study as an experiment in social media. I do think it's something that we should study as an experiment in motivations. And I do think it's a thing that we should study as an example of how there is no black and white. No issue is, at the scale of the world, is black and white. Whether that is a Republican issue, whether that is reproductive rights, there is no issue that is global, that is black and white. There are issues in your life that are black and white. You can hold that door open. That is an act of kindness. You can share your sandwich, and that is an act of kindness. You can offer to pick up a friend when they're stuck. That is an act of kindness. And when you just start recalibrating and redirecting towards that, it changes who you are. And that changes the world. Maybe that takes you towards helping Ugandans. Maybe that takes you towards helping the Invisible Children Project. Maybe it takes you to what April, and I'll try to post her link on the Hug Nation page, she got went to Africa and started a whole charity because she decided, you know what? This is complicated. I don't really like all the money thing. I'm going to make a tiny, my piece is going to go in the direction of helping African kids. Who knows? Just start following that. And it's not a sacrifice. It's a gift to you and the world. I am so glad that you are who you are, because that is a gift to the world too. Simply listening and discerning what is a voice from the outside, what is a heart-centered pull towards your connection with others, towards your best self, towards your divine self. Just listening to that is an act of activism. Inner activism is what I like to call it, or inspiration activism. Follow your heart. And if that path is one that resonates, people will pay attention, they'll hear it, and the ripples will happen. So let's join our ripples and have a Hug Nation hug. So wherever you are, grab yourselves by the shoulders. This body, your spirit, your consciousness, that is absolutely connected to all. But this body is your individual little vehicle to traverse through the world. And so this is the body that we get to steer and make choices and perceive. So let's take a moment to have gratitude for this tool. But it's not what we are. Neither is that personality, that collection of memories and thoughts and experiences that sometimes get us so caught up into feeling like we know what's right and we know they're wrong. But that's really just a very small piece based on a very small number of years on this planet. Deeper than that is what we really are, which is a seed of the divine, which is a pure ember of source. And guess what? We are all that. Even Kony, even the politicians, even the Fox News people, even Rush Limbaugh. All of us at our core are seeds of the divine, with varying layers and degrees of gook that gets us confused and caught up, so that we make choices based on a place that is sometimes very disconnected to who we really are. So in this moment, let's shake off all of our layers, forgive ourselves for getting caught up in our story, and also forgive everyone else. The only way to change ourselves is by knowing who we are and letting that out. The only way to change others is to seeing them as their perfect divine self and believing that it can come out too. So just for a second, let's see the world as covered in these bright lights of perfect divine seeds. Just a shining, shining planet illuminating the entire solar system. The whole planet, one big light like another star. Take a deep breath. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you for being you, for making the steps towards your better and higher self, for feeling connected. You are an ambassador of the divine. Thank you. I love you. Namaste.